Tony's thought for the day kind of came out of my meeting this morning that I have every day at work, almost every day at work. And one of the things I guess that struck me today is how often I hear misused cliches in meetings or just in general around the world. And I'm curious if you're experiencing the same sort of thing. I wonder if there's this migration away from people that read very much. Maybe they get all their media some way other than by reading, so they don't really know what the cliches are. They just know maybe what they sound like, and so they get them mixed up maybe with other cliches. And I heard the one I heard this morning I thought was very interesting was one person says, we had this huge albatross hanging over our head. And, I know it's maybe I'm wrong here, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it supposed to be an albatross? We have an albatross around our neck. And I think there's some, I don't even know what is the origin of that cliche, but I'm pretty sure it's an albatross around your neck and not a huge albatross hanging over your head. I think it would be a mixture of an albatross around your neck and a dark cloud hanging over our head. So I thought that was kind of a cool one. And, I've heard so many strange ones lately. In another meeting just recently, one of the ladies was talking about her grandson running around naked as a jailbird, she said. I think the cliche is naked as a jaybird, which is kind of ironic, naked as a jailbird. I thought that was cute. I heard another one. I actually heard a person that used the word virgin the wrong way, said they would like an updated version of that spreadsheet instead of version. And so I don't know where this poor confused person's gotten their updated version of a spreadsheet. Leading edge. It's interesting. I hear that a lot now. That used to be cutting edge, didn't it? Maybe leading edge is a cliche that's come into acceptance now, but it seems like a lot of times people are trying to get away from cutting edge, especially in the medical field where I work. I guess maybe the people are afraid of being cut, so they want a leading edge something, not a cutting edge technology or whatever. Another one I've heard over the years that I thought was very funny is one time a young lady we worked with came in one day and she was just really tired from a hard day of work. She said, "Man, I've been working like a banshee." And I'm sure what she had heard the old cliche, screaming like a banshee, which is like a spirit that screams when someone dies or something like that. And maybe I've gotten that wrong. But she would actually really screwed that one up, working like a banshee. And she said banshee. And I said, well, where did you learn that? She said, oh, my mom says that all the time. So maybe sometimes the origin of mixed up cliches is from your parents, I don't know, or from just other people you hear. A family member I've got tends to say, you're taking me for granted, or, granted, this is the way it ought to be, but instead of saying granted, they say granted. So like, now, yeah, for granted, that's the way it is over there at their house. Or, he just really takes her for granted, like a piece of rock. Interesting. And I can see that. It really does sound similar. So if you hadn't seen that written out, then you might use the word granted. I went online and found a few places where people were saying stuff like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That one really is an old one. It's started out as the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. I've heard people say the nut doesn't fall far from the tree. But now it seems to have segued over where it's apple. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It was always, historically, I believe in English, down through the years, the acorn. Another example, and I have heard people do this before, let's flush out the details instead of flesh out the details. Flush out the details. Interesting. For all intensive purposes, instead of for all intents and purposes. And so these are just some of the things that I have heard before. One that I've definitely heard before is let's nip it in the butt. Instead of let's nip it in the bud. And so that's also one of my favorite cliches that gets mixed up. If you happen to have some, and they're fairly clean, let's face it, I don't want to have a whole lot of trash here on my little daily blog. But if you've got some examples of things where people have messed up cliches, please share those with me, and let's just see what people say. It's always interesting for me to know what people hear out there and kind of how strangely the English language is morphing day in and day out. So thanks. Hope you have a great day.